All right. Hey, come on in.
What up, what up?
What up? All right. Here we are again. Another trap house. So Maria, where are we at?
Oh man, so we're actually in North Richland Hills.
That doesn't
And it's so funny because now that I hear Ryan in my mind all the time saying trap house, like that's one of the same things I think about.
We're like outside of Fort Worth, right? Somewhere on the perimeter of Fort Worth.
Yeah, yep.
So between Fort Worth and Dallas. All right.
Yep.
So cool. So this is a house, you're about to close on it. It is, or was, or a foreclosure. You can definitely tell an investor's been in here and fluffed it up a little bit, right?
I know, you see the stuff that, you'd see in a flip house, but then, for example, when we're walking through the door just swings kind of closed by itself.
Well, that can mean a lot of things, but hopefully it was hung at a little bit of an angle and it's just, hopefully that's the problem. So you're closing on this next week. Tell us the numbers.
Yep, so this was a pre-foreclosure. So these guys are going on auction for the month of June, but they're behind only like $22,000.
Only?
Yeah. I've seen some crazy numbers here recently. I don't know, how it's been for you guys out there, but I've run across some houses that have been like 80K, 90K for the reinstatement.
So these are people that probably did the forbearance during COVID, thinking, oh, we'll just push these payments to the back a little bit. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna make it up later, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
All right. So there's probably a lot of these coming on the market.
We came up with an agreement where if I pay them $10,000, they're willing to leave the mortgage in place. So I'll be able to buy it subject to the existing mortgage. Their current payment, it's a little high. It's like $2,350 a month. But this is a 4-bed, 2-bath. So fingers crossed. I have this thing listed on Facebook Marketplace right now. I'm trying to see if I can rent it out for $29.95. The method to my madness is that usually any of the money that I have to bring to close. So for example, I'm gonna need the $22K. I'm gonna need the $10K for the homeowners closing costs. And also I'm gonna need a little bit of money to fix up this place. So that money that I'm gonna borrow, it's probably about 40, 50K that I'm gonna need. I'm gonna get that from a private lender. So my private lender is gonna stay in the deal for about 12 months and I'm gonna pay them monthly interest. But after we stabilize the property and get a tenant in here. So I'm factoring not just the $2,350 that I have to pay on a monthly basis to the mortgage company, but also to the monthly interest that I'm gonna have to pay to my private lender.
Okay, so let's talk about the first thing. Let's break down pre-foreclosure. So how does pre-foreclosure happen, right? Everybody gets a mortgage and you have to make that monthly payment. Let's whatever it is, $2,200 a month. So at some point they've fallen behind. So how did you find them?
Yep, so typically we go on the county website. So I have a virtual assistant and every day we're scouring any of the records that are on there and we send text messages to all of these guys. And that's how I got in touch with the homeowners.
So you're looking for people whose banks have said, we're gonna file a lawsuit for you to take this property back because you suck and you have not paid your payment. We've tried to get a hold of you. We probably had somebody knock on the door. We've done everything we can and you've just put your head in the sand and decided not to pay. Yeah.
My approach is a little different. I usually ask people how I can help them because everyone's trying to reach out to these people that are in pre-foreclosure. Again, terrible financial crisis, you know what I'm saying? And you're asking them, hey, do you want to sell, the last thing that you might actually have some equity in and whatnot. So I always ask, hey, how can I help you? And when I ask that, they tell me if they're looking to sell or keep it. These guys actually said they wanted to sell it. The wife lives up here. She actually works for the school district here. And then the husband actually lives in Austin. He builds commercial properties. He actually does multifamily buildings.
So you think two people that make enough money that should be able to afford it. Do you have any idea what happened? I mean, not that it matters, but there's always a story.
Yeah, so his stuff kind of got a little behind. So he was living up here, but business slowed down because again, he was a builder or he worked for a company, but that kind of slowed down. So that's when he went to Austin. So they were in a little bit of financial bind for a little bit. So that's kind of how they got behind initially. They shared with me a little bit about what was going on. And actually once we start walking the house, you guys will kind of check it out. So they only bought this house a couple years ago. And again, like we've been talking about, it was remodeled by an investor, but they noticed that the house started having some issues because there's an addition and the addition actually started pulling away from the house.
Now, not necessarily the investor's fault, just a thing that happens over time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Okay, well, we'll hope. Okay, so we understand what pre-foreclosure is. They've missed their payments. Once you miss one payment, the bank sends you a letter. You miss 2 payments, they send you a letter, they start calling you. By the time you miss the 3rd payment and you don't respond or make a plan, the bank's like, well, game's up, homie. The house is security on their mortgage or the deed of trust or whatever you want to call it. If you don't pay this note, we're going to take the house back, right? Because that's what the banks do. The bank goes to the local court and files a lawsuit called a lis pendens, and that is the court action that says we're coming for you, right? So that's what your VAs go. They look through court records and go, all this pendants. Let me find this person. Let's call them and see if we can help them.
Yep, exactly. Cool. We get on these court records like immediately. So a lot of times when we're messaging these homeowners, they haven't even gotten the notice yet. They're not even aware that they're in foreclosure yet. So it's kind of funny because we're telling them.
It kind of brings up this whole other thing I was talking to our team about a week or two ago is, you know, it's like 40,000 people go into foreclosure a month. But all of those 40,000, somebody reached out to them. So these people were smart enough to say, hey, yes, I want help. But how many people just like, oh, they're not going to take my house? No, homie, they are taking your house. They don't care that your kid's sick, your dog died, your mom's in the hospital. They don't care. It's just a number. Make the payment or you go. Like, banks are worse than investors. So the banks. So you're talking to them. This court date that we keep talking about, that's the date where literally like they get on the steps of the courthouse and they auction off, here, I've got 7900 Michelin Lane, whatever it is, we're gonna auction it off. So you got there before, and you said, hey, you made an arrangement with them to reinstate the loan, which means make up all the back payments, plus there's probably some court fees in there.
Yep.
So that puts the loan back into good standing, and the bank's like, cool, as long as you keep making the payments, we'll be good.
In my experience, I've never had a lender reach out, you know, after you've been making payments consistently, saying, hey, we want possession of the house. But it does happen because the title is changing. I am going to put the title under my name.
Are you putting it in your name or a trust?
So I'm actually going to reach out to this attorney group out of San Antonio that I was referred to because I need to be doing that and putting it in a trust as opposed to my LLC.
So one of the guys that I was speaking with this weekend, his name is Jeff Adams, but he's probably the foremost expert in the country on subject to, he talks about putting it into a trust is the safest way to not trigger the due on sale clause. And I don't want to get into a whole different thing, but it's the 1982 Garn-St. Germain Act that says a person can take their property and put it into intervisio trust, which is a personal trust for the purposes of estate planning. So the TikTok is the seller actually places their property into a trust, which is just some paperwork, right? It says the owner of the property is no longer Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's now the 123 Main Street Trust, and you're going to be their trustee. So now you have a trust document, and at the end it says Mr. and Mrs. Smith are the owner of the trust. They assign their interest to you. That's step two. Moving their own property into their own trust does not trigger due on sale. A trust is a non-recorded document, so it's not in public record anyplace. The only place it exists is in your drawer. So obviously don't lose it because it's very important.
Look at you, smarty pants. I didn't realize all the...
20 years I've been doing this, kid. You know, this is why we run a transactions company. You're purchasing the property, reinstating the loan, so Bank of America or whoever it is, they're like, we're happy. Now this goes from, on their books, a bad asset, bad debt to being good debt, which is great for the bank. Banks do not want to foreclose if they don't have to because it's a big pain in the ass. And then they get this back and they're like, well, what are we going to do with it, right? And they are not like us. They have to hire somebody. They pay quadruple what it should cost to get somebody to come in and mop the floors and relist it. So cool. So you're able to buy this with zero money out of your pocket.
Yeah, that's the game plan. I've never liked using any of my own money. So I like force myself, even if I had the money, all right, we're going to raise this just because I'd rather work with private lenders and get them. And
I always feel like I am so much more careful with somebody else's money than I am with mine. I take using your money very serious, right? I watch every penny. When it's my money, I'm like, we got like 6 Amexes here. Let's like, what are we doing at this property? We're gonna do crown molding. And then what's your plan? Let's walk through.
This house, even though it's a little stinky and it looks a little bit of a hot mess, it's actually not bad. So it's really gonna be paint. The flooring here is...
Which is weird. Everything else feels pretty good because I have a good sense of when I'm walking on stuff if it's out of whack. But that's water too, dude. I bet you got some moisture or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the buckling from it dropping. This is kind of a problem.
Yes.
What's going on here?
So the addition's pulling away, and so I've already gotten a bid from a foundation company, so I think it's gonna maybe be like $6,000 or $7,000 to fix the foundation, which isn't too bad, but honestly, I think those are the biggest things that the house is gonna need. Foundation, paint, and then like just a really good cleaning. So the homeowners that bought this place, there was a garage here before, but the garage was converted from, you know, when they purchased it. So actually one of the things that I was thinking about, if I wanted to go this route, I'm very interested in renting to Section 8. Section 8 in this neighborhood for 5 neighborhood would pay probably like $3,200 or something like that.
So it's based on bedrooms and zip code.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking if I was able to find someone with a 5-bedroom voucher, I could maybe, you know, enclose part of this area or something, maybe make like a fifth bedroom, especially because I can, get the rent.
So here's what I would do. I would throw an ad up right now that says, hey, I have a 5-bedroom in the zip code. If you have a Section 8
that's what I did on
and
Facebook.
what kind of response did you get?
So I'll be honest, I haven't posted a ton on a lot of those sites, so I need to be more consistent. So I only made one post.
So Section 8 is a provision in the HUD law, Housing and Urban Development. What happens is the federal government in their budget says, hey, we're going to have this much money for affordable housing. Congress allocates that money to local housing choice providers. So somebody in this area is it's usually a nonprofit. They administrate the HUD money that is from Section 8. So we call it Section 8, but it's really a local, like for us, it's Chattanooga Housing Authority. There can be more than one voucher provider in an area. So you could call them and ask them, do they have people on a waiting list for 5 bedrooms? Because they like to work with landlords.
And actually, one of the other things I do just to gauge what the interest is overall in the area, but also too at the rent amount that I'm trying to rent. Because typically, when I look at a house, I look to see what rents are going for in that area on the MLS. But typically, I know that I could charge at least $200 to $300 more than what market is. So that's what I did with this particular house. So I already have this house listed on Facebook Marketplace. I do about 2 or 3 different listings. I change up my pictures because I want to see what the demand is at this price point. So that way, before I close, I'll know, okay, are there a lot of people interested at this price point? And if I see that there aren't.
So how are you pre-screening them?
My virtual assistant will send them an application, and then generally.
Dude, why don't you just create a Google form and put the link there and say, hey, fill this form out.
And I just have my VA send out, but actually we should do something.
Yeah, you can just do it in Google and then it'll shoot it all into a spreadsheet for you.
Yeah.
And then your VA can go through and sort through, and you have to give your VA like, hey, these are our qualifications, because you do have to be a fair housing provider.
We're looking for someone that makes at least 3 times whatever the monthly rent is. We don't want a crazy history of evictions.
That's what we tell people. No evictions, no bankruptcies, no major felonies. You did not stab your last landlord in the eye. They laugh, I laugh, the toaster laughs. Everybody laughs, but I'm like, did you flinch when I said it, right? So you have to follow those guidelines. And if you're going to make an exception, you should have like a written policy in your company manual someplace. What we did is at one of our annual meetings, we're like, and these are our new rules. The only time we will vary from that is if, and we don't actually manage our properties anymore, they're managed, but way back in the day when we did, it was like all owners of the company have to agree, and they pay a full first, full last, and full security deposit. Because I get it, people have issues in their life, right? And they've rebounded, and we want to give those people the best opportunity and try to give them a second chance. But we have to make sure that we're protected too, because these are our assets.
Basically, when I do that, if I see again that we have a lot of demand, it's like, okay, cool, this will be a great rental. But on the other hand, if I see that we're not getting anything, then it's like, all right, maybe this is going to be a house that, as much as I'd love to keep it, I may need to sell it.
You're going to pull this floor up. You're probably going to have to. I think you can roll with it.
So one of the things that I'm working on with the homeowner is that he filed a claim for the
is this the one you were telling me about?
So this is a different one, but he's being a little stubborn though, because I'm trying to get my public adjuster to like work with him to see if we can get additional money from the roof. And actually, I might need to take some pictures and tell him like, hey homie, we really need to get my public adjuster involved because this is not looking bueno.
Yeah, so you definitely have some old.
So he filed a claim already, but the only thing is that I'm trying to get him to work with my public adjuster so we can get more. But he's being like such a knucklehead about that. So I really need to stress that because I mean, closing's coming up soon and I'm not gonna take this hit if he's not.
Well, I mean, you have 2 things to hold over the head. Closing and money, time and money. All right, well, let's see the rest. I feel like there's so much more here. You people in Texas with this jacking up houses thing, do it like it's not even a thing. Where in the rest of the country, we're like, oh my God, there's floor issues. It's the end of the world. You guys have these people digging underneath the house, jacking it up and doing all kinds of wacky stuff. So here's the reason it's having a problem is this was probably just a concrete patio at one point and it's poured at 4 inches, right? So what happened is then on top of that, they built this. I would bet $500 that it's not permitted.
I think it was permitted, I think, but.
Well, I think it may be captured on public record so they could tax it, but I would bet it's not permitted. So what happens is, because that foundation is so thin, you build all this on top of it and that foundation starts to sink, and that's probably where you're having problems. Because you can see the whole thing is just separating. It's literally like just pulling away. So there's what happens if you have to tear this off?
Hopefully not.
Let's get them under there and jack it up. Jack it up.
Yeah, man.
So the bathroom looks good.
Doesn't look bad.
So the bank comes in, you were talking about this when we started, and the bank will come in and winterize it, which means they flush all the water out of all the pipes so that it doesn't freeze and break all of the, the pipes underneath the slab, because then it gets very expensive to replace. So you can always tell a house that's bank owned or has been abandoned and the bank comes in and takes it over, because it'll then be winterized. So see, that's literally car antifreeze inside the.
Oh, word? That's what that is?
It's antifreeze. So that, because they're afraid, and they do it during the summer too, which is weird because they never know how long it's going to sit empty. They flood all the lines with antifreeze so that it doesn't, you're not replacing another sewer line at some point.
Yeah.
Because we know how fun that is. So washer dryer, cool. Layout's a little funny.
Yeah.
You can tell they've moved some things around and done some things. I feel like it might have been, but I don't know. It's got the small windows, so it wasn't. No way it was originally a bathroom.
You think it's too?
It's too big. That's always like, these things are like archaeological experiments. Like, you go into houses or neighborhoods and you try to figure out what it was before it started. You know?
That's funny. So yeah, hot water heater. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, water heater's new. Fill it up before you turn the power back on, because you'll burn it up.
And the 3 bedrooms are back here.
So see, no foundation issues here, right? No pulling, very little, a little bit, but that's normal. I think it's all tied to that back room.
I don't know what they did.
Yeah, you definitely need a roof, huh?
Yo.
Are you gonna replace the windows? No, you're rolling with the windows that are here, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna.
Hopefully the AC works.
Like moisture.
Yeah, it's because it's so hot in here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4th bedroom in the back.
Yep.
Potential for a bedroom on the side there. Cool. Yeah, these bedrooms don't look bad. This is easy in and out.
Yeah.
I know you always have multiple exit strategies. Tell me, so Section 8 is one.
Yep.
What else?
I mean, just renting it out normally. I actually had someone reach out to me that they wanted to run an assisted living thing in here.
Okay, so you would rent it by the room. Well,
Yeah.
you would sublease it to them.
Yeah,
and they
sublease
would-
it to them. Yeah, and actually renting it by the room was something else that I thought about too. So I have it listed right now on Roomster. So I could potentially try and find just individual people.
So much to talk about there. We could have a whole episode on that. Much higher rent, much higher management. The assisted living people, how much did they offer?
Well, I mean, they wanted to come in at what I had it at, but
No. No, say do
Go
that.
up.
No.
Yeah.
A whole new, I gotta have all kinds of different insurance and, we gotta do a lot of different things. Yeah, it would definitely be more.
So different places and types of ways to rent it out. And then the last one is just to
Quick
sell
flip
it.
and sell.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you gonna be all in it at closing?
So these guys on their mortgage, I think they owe like $255 or something like that.
Feels like a lot, but what's the neighborhood worth? What's it worth?
So this thing could probably sell for like $340. So yeah, no, I'm kind of still debating. But again, if this guy don't make a decision, then homie,
Well, the good thing about real estate is buy and hold,
yeah.
because the prices always go up.
I'm actually trying to see too, like start thinking about, okay, what's the proximity of these houses to like hospitals and stuff like that. So maybe I could not necessarily do Airbnb, but cater
Furnished
to.
finders. So you've talked to the foundation people, so they already know what's up.
Yep.
6 to 8 grand max, right? They'll get that done. How much you budgeting to do the rest of the place?
It's paint and then fixing up.
So how long do you think it'll get you to flip this? Because you're like the quick flip queen.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't take very long. So I mean, we could have roof worked on immediately after foundation's done, and then they should, be done with the inside in like a week, not even. So
Like a month max.
yeah.
And you're advertising
way-
the minute you.
Yeah, exactly. Way less, but yeah,
Awesome.
fingers crossed. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Good job.
yay.